Sure. Yes, I grew up interested in science, and I went to did 12 to 13 years of college with 3 degrees in biology, paleobotany, and geology and palynology. And I graduated from Penn State with a PhD in 1977 and started working at for the oil industry at Gulf Research and Development as a palynologist. And what I would do is I would look through a microscope all day and look at slides of fossil pollen that was extracted from rocks that were brought up from drill bits, and tell the geologists what age rocks they were drilling through. And but in the middle of all of this, because of my doctorate thesis on the East Coast, the Newark Supergroup Basin, I discovered that one of the basins that I had worked in had all of the earmarks for oil generation, oil migration, and oil entrapment. And so I started my own oil company in 1981, and we drilled a couple wells, and then other companies came in and drilled more wells, and finally Exxon and Texaco came in, and they drilled a bunch of wells in an adjacent basin. So it was a big oil play on the East Coast, and I was involved in all of that until everything just collapsed around the oil industry. And I got a job working with Dr. Paul Olson at Columbia University and Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, and ended up being his well site geologist for a 7-well, 28,000-foot coring project in the Newark Basin. And we extracted all these cores and were able to do analysis of the lake cycles, and which follow the precession of the equinox and all of the ancient climate cycles. Well, as I was working with all of this at Lamont Doherty, I saw a miniseries on television called Intruders, and I was fascinated by it because I'd never seen any TV shows before on alien abductions. And this really surprised me because in academia, we rarely ever talked about that. You know, they call it the invisible college. Well, it was invisible to me when I was working there. And so I went to the bookstore looking for books on the intruder, and the manager of the bookstore got me the book, and he said, "You might want to read this other book, Silent Invasion by Dr. Ellen Crystal." I read it, and I was shocked to find out that I was living right next to a UFO hotspot at the time. And I contacted her, and she invited me to go out into the field with skywalking with her. And on the first night I was out there, DJ, I was blown away. I had never seen anything so amazing as ships coming in to their underground base and diving into the ground, going right straight through trees, and are coming back up out of the ground and taking off, one after another, after another, after another. And I said, why doesn't anybody know about this? This is, outrageous. And Ellen Crystal had said that in her book that she felt there was an underground base. And I said, well, I'm working at Lamont Doherty. So I borrowed their proton magnetometer, and I started a 24-square-mile, 3-year magnetic survey of that area near Pine Bush. And boy, did I find magnetic anomalies galore, lots of them. And but unfortunately for me, my associates at Columbia University didn't appreciate my interests. In fact, my longtime friend since high school and boss, he just basically told me that I was crazy, that there are no such things as UFOs, and he doesn't believe in the paranormal. And I said, well, okay, I can't work with you anymore. So I quit Lamont Doherty, and at the time I had been introduced to my third wife after my late wife had died, and she said, well, I'm a habitual workaholic. I love my work in the computer industry, and I've hired a babysitter to raise my kids. I tell you what, we'll get together if you were willing to raise my kids for me. So I said, fine, and she gave me a stipend and an allowance for doing my field work, and I raised her 3 kids and went out on field trips to Pine Bush with Ellen Crystal and started capturing lots of these crafts on time exposures and video. And right now I'm writing a book, almost completed. I'm in the final stages of editing. That should be out by the end of this year. And it's called Unconventional Aerial Phenomena in the Hudson and Wallkill River Valley, New York. And it's about my 11-year study where I document 141 close encounters with pictures of these craft moving at night. Of course, at night when all you see is the lights, you can't see the actual shapes of the craft except in a few cases. And it's quite obvious that they are both triangular and diamond shaped, and some are elongate, cigar-shaped in size. But the thing that's most amazing, TJ, is that I found these craft were living. Whoever was flying them, the pilots, they existed there, they lived there, and I found evidence that they had been there for thousands of years. In other words, there's a good evidence that they have been here on Earth longer than humans have. So we keep on calling them extraterrestrial. Well, the ones I was associated or in contact with weren't extraterrestrial. They were interdimensional, maybe, but they were Earth entities living on Earth, underground basis. And that is one of the things that my book tries to get across.
Great. Well, thank you for all of that. Now, we're going to be doing a panel. Now, sometimes folks in the audience in the last 7 years learned some of us will do interviews from time to time, but Blog Talk likes us to have a host and a co-host, which you'll find out on most radio shows. That is the typical model. And yet sometimes we need another human to tell us what's going on, which we've certainly found out in the last week, because I'm calling in direct into the studio, and we have several ways to do that, including Skype, and a Mad Painter helps us with our Skype call-ins. But today we're trying this with me going direct, so you don't hear back in time and reality. And I'm going to go back up to the list the way we started years ago, so we can each talk a moment about whatever comes up. But we like to have, today is alienology, so we're going to try to stick under that topic. But I want to go back to the beginning with Dave Emmons, because he is a journalist, he's an alienologist, and we're asking him to assist us as a business person, Dave, in getting this organized, because we find some people like what we're doing and others do not. So we have got to learn how to deal with all that in 2019. So Dave Emmons, you were talking about the Alienology Club. My club is ACO Club, folks, but I put all different groups I have because they're free social media groups together. So Dave found me on Facebook, wasn't it, Dave, in one of the groups?
Well, yes, I did. I actually met you, and I met Bruce, and Bruce and I had some talks, and I was very impressed with his academic skills, plus his also experiencer skills. And we were talking about hybrids and the spacecraft and things of that nature. And so Bruce and I know each other a little bit. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Dave. Glad you're on here with me.
Yes.
You've expressed a lot of interesting things have happened. You are obviously an experiencer and can share a lot of important facts from your experiences with us.
Well, thank you, Bruce. One of the questions I want to ask, Bruce, you said that these aliens have been here forever. I mean, before we were, and I believe that too. And I guess that's why we become good buddies in this, because our ideas are similar. And I've had direct experiences. I've seen the craft close up. There's no nuts and bolts in these crafts. They're all smooth. Some of them look like they have glass bottoms. I was right underneath of them. So But one of the questions I want to ask you, Bruce, playing, I guess, the co-host here a little bit, and I have a question for Janet when she gets done with her soup. So
we'll go right down the lines. She'll hurry now, though. She'll eat faster.
Okay.
But go ahead and talk to Bruce for a moment. We'll watch the clock.
Bruce, right. I should say Dr. Bruce and give you. Okay. I should say Dr. Bruce. But Bruce, with these aliens, what do they look like? I know I ran into one that was of Asian persuasion, but are they a conglomeration of all of us races here on Earth?
That's a very important question. What do they look like? Now, one of the things I in my personal abduction experiences, I have met at least 4 different types. Okay. And these are not related to anything around Pine Bush or my experiences in the Wallkill River Valley. In fact, those entities, whoever they are, they have kept their identity or appearance from everyone that I know of. And they wanted to remain anonymous and secret, even though they will fly around and put on shows for the Skywatchers out along the farm roads. But the other types I've met, they are humanoid. They're the typical grays, tall grays, short grays. I've been abducted by them. And then there are the wrinkled-browed aliens, which are have these almost Neanderthal type wrinkles across their forehead and ridges on their nose and circular eyelids. And they're small. They're all, in the 3 to 4 foot tall range. And those wrinkled-browed aliens are the ones who I have encountered in Virginia. And whenever I went down to do my geological work in Virginia, I would end up running into them. And my third wife, Pat, her mother lived in Massanutten Village in the Blue Mountains of Virginia, and we spent a number of trips there with her on holidays. And on Thanksgiving in 1993, Pat and I wanted to go up to the top of Sky Look, overlooking the valley and the Massanutten Ski Resort there. It's a huge ski resort. And we parked up there, and lo and behold, to make a long story short, I had my camera out, and I was waiting to see something. Well, a big ship came up, hovered over us, sent a scout ship down, abducted my wife right out of the van, and paralyzed me and operated on me while I was sitting in the driver's seat, and then brought my wife back, and we lost about a half an hour time, found physical injuries on our body, and I have on a website that shows a drawing of what we witnessed, very interesting, and it was the same wrinkled-browed aliens. The next year I came back we came back to Pat's mother's house in Massanutten Village, and lo and behold, I was abducted again, right out of the bedroom. So, but in other areas, like in Wallkill River in New York, as I said, nobody that I know of who has watched all of these craft put on their performances at night have ever claimed to have met the occupants, which is fascinating. I can only speculate as to what they might be and why. I have a friend who's a movie actor, Billy McNamara. He's now well known in his parts in Hollywood, where he lives. He used to live out at Saul Point, east of Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, New York, and he invited me out to his house, and we went out into the farm fields, the horse farms there, and we had the manta ray put on a huge show for us, and that sighting is documented on my website, and also Preston Dent and UFOs Over New York in his book makes a report of that sighting. But Billy took me all over the area and showed me where, since he lived there, he had seen things come out of the ground. He had seen hatches open in farm fields, and somebody